Good day, sir. I am Rashijoy Mulata Marine. This is my video presentation for the reading activity number 2. Interview. Defined. It is the questioning of person believed to possess information which are relevant to the investigation of a crime or on criminal activities. The golden rule in interview. Never conduct or let anyone conduct an interview if the interviewer has not gone to the crime scene. The questioning should be in agreement with the fact and conditions of the crime scene. The questioning will lead inward for the interviewer who had not seen personally the crime scene, and he will not be in the position to distinguish half-truth, exaggerations, or falsehood from the answer of the person being interviewed. Rapport. Define. It is the relation between the interviewer and the interview which is conducive to the faithful result. It is winning the confidence of a person being interviewed in order that he will tell all the information in his possession. The interviewer must be in respectable civilian attire because most often and the majority of people, the police of uniform is a barrier in establishing good rapport. To many, the uniforms is intimidating. Forceful personality. Appearance of the interviewer and other qualities such as skills of communication techniques or the force of his language are the mainstays of the strength of his character. He must be understanding, sympathetic without showing official arrogance, vulgarity or expressions, and an air of superiority. Knowledge of human behavior. This will help the interviewer to determine the personality and intelligence of his subject. He must go down and up to the level of understanding of his particular subject. Conversational tone of voice. His tone of voice must be conversational, not confrontational as in interrogation. Common interest. His preliminary and probing questions should be aimed to establish common interest between him and the subject. Acting qualities. He must possess the qualities of an actor, salesman, psychologist, and know how to use the power of persuasion. Humility. Humility. He must be courteous, sympathetic, and humble, ready to ask apologies for an inconvenience of the interview. Cognitive interview defined. It is a form of technique in the conduct of interview upon willing and cooperate witnesses, where they are given the full opportunity to narrate their account without intervention, interruption, and interference from the interviewer. After the subject has finished his narration, the investigation now subject him to the style of direct examination and cross-examination, to clarify the unexplained portions to arrive at a vivid and complete picture of his testimony. In the case of subject of low level of intelligence, the use of leading question greatly helped the investigator to obtain the full of desired information. Reasons why witness refuse to talk and testify. Fear of reprisal. The fear of reprisal is always entertained by witnesses who lack the courage of face to the suspect, his associate or relatives. This is natural, especially those who have no means to protect themselves or no influential persons for them to rely on. This prevalence among the generally underprivileged sectors of our society, the investigator must remove these fears from the mind of his witnesses, either by offering protection or by explaining that unless the suspect is not put behind bars, the fear will not disappear. The investigator power of persuasion plays a vital role. Great inconvenience. On the part of those of hand-to-mouth existence, there is this real inconvenience which will deprive them time to earn for their living, especially during the ordeal of testifying during the trial. To those unemployed, the inconvenience is greater. Thus, the investigator must sincerely help them through his contact with his business community. Hatred against the police. The hatred may be due to previous had experience with recruit members of the police organization. The investigator must show the difference between him and the recruit policeman by honest and sincere entertainment of the compliment against the recruit cops. He must explain that these escalawags represent only a small percentage of the whole organization and the police leadership is addressing the situation properly. A calling card of the investigator given to this kind of witness will greatly help the situation, promising immediate help if there is the recurrence of the bad experience. Base of the witness. The witness may be in an acquaintance, friend, helper, or benefactors of the suspect. All of this and other relationship of the witness to the suspect must be explored so that an intelligence approach is properly applied. Avoidance of publicity. There are witnesses who are shy and they shun publicity that will bring discomfort to their ordinary or obscure way of living. The investigator must hide these witnesses away from reporters. Family restriction. Some famous and respected families preserve their reputations by instilling to their members the need of the approval of their elders in matters affecting their families. The investigators must talk to the elders for their approval for the member to testify. Bigotry. Religious or racial, tribal, or ethnic indifference, cultish and traditionation, indoctrination. Some cult or religious denominations exercise religious or moral influence on decision of witnesses to testify. It would be more apparent when the witnesses and the suspect belongs to the same cult. The investigation must use the tenet of religion, which is truth, to the religious leaders, to allows their member to tell the truth and give the required testimonial evidence. This is revealing in our society even the points of career advancement. Common techniques applicable to the foregoing reasons. Many of these witnesses want that they will not be utilized as formal witnesses but are remain anonymous. The investigators must initially agree that the testimonies be given the short of confidentiality after the full disclosure of the information. The investigator, when persuades these witnesses to be utilized as formal witnesses, especially when there is no necessity of the testimony evidence, the power of persuasion plays a key role. The stage of handling the interview. Preparation. The investigator should review the fact of the crime scene and information from the other sources of the order that he would be ready for a questioning. A background data of the subject should be able to available so that he could adapt himself to the kind of approach to be employed. Approach. The investigator must carefully select his kind of approach, which may be a single kind, a combination of two, or the applications of all techniques. Warning up. This is done by preliminary or exploratory questions to clear the atmosphere, promotes a conductive ground for cordiality, respect, trust for each other. Cognitive interview. The subject now is asked to narrate his account without interruption, interventions, or inference. It is only after the completions of the uninterrupted narrations that the investigator begins his direct and cross-examination. Rules in questioning. One question at a time. Multiple, complex legalistic questions should be avoided. One question at a time is desired. Avoid implied answer. The nod of the head or any other body language is a response to the question should be avoided. The question must be oral, clear, explicit, and responsive to the questions. Simplicity of questions. A short, simple questions at a time is required. If the answer needs qualifications, then it should be allowed. Avoid legalistic questions such as who the murderer or who are the conspiracy with the suspect. Saving faces. Embarrassing questions on the subject on the matters of exaggerations of honest errors about time, distance, and descriptions can be avoided if the investigator will cooperate with the subject to save his face. The investigator should not fold of ridicule the subject on this matter. Yes or no answer. Do not ask questions which could be answered by yes or no. It will curtail the complete flow of information and will lead in inaccuracy. Type of witnesses according to their attitudes, knowing nothing type. These are the reluctant type of witnesses. They are found among the uneducated and of low level of intelligence. The techniques to be applied is go down to their level of intelligence and or by interrogation. Disinterested type. This is the uncooperative and different subject. To deal with them is to find out their field of interest so that they will talk. Their different indifference should be demolished to arouse their interest of be flattered. The drunken type. The style of questioning by the good investigator should be adapted to the psychology of the subject. When the drunken subject has sobered, another interview will be conducted, confronting him about his disclosures while in states of drunkenness. The written states must be taken during his sobriety. Suspicious type. This type of witnesses are suspicious about the motives and actions of the investigator. The bearer of the suspicious may be removed by sincere explanation or psychological pressure. Talkative type. These are witnesses who are prone to exaggerate, adding irrelevant or new matters to their narrations. The skillful investigator could prune the unnecessary matters from the relevant ones. Honest witnesses. These are the thoughtful and cooperative witnesses. The investigator could rely upon the letter or no problem in handling it. Deceitful witness. This is the liar type of witnesses that they lie and order them to repeat several times their narrations. They will be immersed in contradictions. If possible, the lies must be typed, recorded for the consternation about their contradiction, pressure them for possible cases of perjury or obstructions of justice, and they will tell the truth. Timid witnesses. They're the shy witnesses. The approach must be friendly and reassuring confidentially of their information. They should be hidden from the devouring press by interview of the photos seasons. Boosting, egoistic, or concentric witnesses. They will be good witnesses because of their ability of expressing their accounts of the commissions of a crime. The investigation must be patient in dealing with them in order not to brush their ego or self-pride. They are susceptible to add color or importance in their role as witnesses, probably underrating an account or other. Refusal to talk witnesses. This is the most difficult subject to deal with. Find out the reasons of their silence by exploring deeper into the kind of their personality. The cause may be trauma, shock, fear, hatred, and others. Remove these feathers or silence, they will start talking. Statement analysis. This is a new name in criminal investigation, but got new in actual practice. What is a new in the term? Is the term? It began in the United States when the woman reported to the police of disappearance of her children while on board her packed car. The car also disappeared with the children. The police, for a considerable time, accorded the area, interview scores of witnesses who claimed to have seen nothing. A police expert carefully analyzed the video tape recorder of the woman who went to the TV stations to appeal for the children. The analysis led to suspicions and the woman placed under exhaustive interrogation where she confessed that she dropped the car down the river because her live-in partner does not like her children from the former marriage. The car, together with the dead children, was subsequently tried from the floor of the river. This is not a new practice in our jurisdiction. Every compliant verdict distinguished if witnesses are subjected to the crucible of truth. Lest an investigator will be the ignorance of the unmindful weapon of deception, frame up incriminatory machination against the innocents. Almost care must be exercised before including the culpability of the suspect. This is the rule in the art of the criminal investigation and the detection. Complaint and testimonies be reduced to the writing. Complaints and testimonies shall be reduced into writing in the form of questioning and answer. Never use the affidavit from even in testimonies of appropriating behavior officers. This is affidavit form is put upon by our court. Information defined. An information is any person who furnishes the police an information relevant to a criminal case about the activities of the criminals and syndicates. The informant may openly give the information or offer himself to be witness. The other kind is the one who furnishes the policeman information surreptitiously and opts to remain anonymous. Confidential informant. Defined, he is the person who provides the policeman who confidential information concerning a past crime or a projected and planned crime. He does not want to be identified as the source of the information under the law. This information are protected to their identify cannot be relevant by the police even under the order of the court unless the exceptional case where there is a claim of defense of the informant frame of this accused. The type of informants: anonymous information, rival elimination informants, false informants, frightened informants, self-aggranding informants, mercenary informants, double cross informants, woman informants, legitimate informants. That's all. Motives of informants: they have vanity, mindedness, fear, and repentance. Ang informers define he is the person who provides informations to the police on a regularly basis. They are either paid regularly or in the case-to-case basis, or none at all. They are cultivated and established by the police of a more or less permanent character, and as long as they are loyal and useful to the police organization. The proverbial basis. The saying goes, it needs a thief to catch another thief. The history of the French police provide that this saying is true. The light French sword tasked to investigate criminal cases hired an ex-convict as an informer. This is index product outstanding success in the solutions of cases seemingly difficult to be solved. Selection of information. There is no hard and fixed rule in the selection of informers. This is addressed to the sound discretions of the investigator. The informer may be the fixed period as assignment or into the case of the case basis. Ang critical areas in the deployment of informers, meron siyang within the ranks of criminals and criminal syndicates, associates and friends of criminals, places of hangouts of criminals such as nightclubs, bars, hotels, billiards halls, and other places. Slums, the residential places where criminals have their contact. The detention centers such as local jails and National Bureau of Prisons in many instances. And the last is places where criminals dispose their loot. Women informers. Most effective among informers because they could easily penetrate the rank of criminals with the less suspicions. Besides, they could mingle with the crowd easily and could obtain information more than their male counterparts, especially if their beauty attract attention. Dual role of the informers: identify the tracing the whereabouts of the suspect, gathered of the information that will lead to the location and recovery of evidence such as the loot of the other pieces of evidence relevant to criminal activities. Ang government recorded police files in BI Files Bureau of Investigation. Ang private recorded from private police and business and non-government organizations. An intercepted message from telephones, cell phones, radio, the communication to other means communications. Records of the firearms and fireblasting. Tracing the chain of positions of a firearms from the manufacturer, distributor, seller, and to last processor. This could be done through the files of the FBI and other U.S. police agencies. Records of foreign and local manufacturers of bicycles concerning the engine and chassis number of suspect vehicle used in the commissions of the crimes or are subject or carnapping. Stored data on computers and cell phones. Only expert must be employed to retrieve this stored data. Rules on computer evidence. When the computer is off of the time of the arrival, do not turn it on. When when it is on, do not turn it off, nor touch it mouse or keyboard. The unplugging of computer, whether it is on or off, should be done by pulling out the cable directly from the back of the central processing unit. Each unplug cable should be marked in the same marking corresponding to the shaft from where the cable was unplugged. The computer should be carefully handled and packed for transport for the police station. Only computer forensic expert should search for any information of evidence contained in the hardware. The computer hardware should be duplicated by the expert, and the origins should be kept by the evidence custodian for future court representation. Presentation. Search and analysis must be undertaken. Use the image disk. Recorded message from file with information technology companies. Coordinations with the information technology companies and the relevant information is desirable. The value of this information in the files of these companies could not be underestimated. That's all.